Okay, this is lesson 1.10 or 1.9, which is domain and range. So really quick, just to review, I wrote the ordered pairs of all of the coordinates. This graph is a graph of a relation, just a relationship. And so if we were to list these as ordered pairs, we just literally list them. So I'd say negative 3, 1 is a point that's part of this. Negative 2 is part of this. 0, negative 1 is part of this. 2, 2 is part of this. And lastly, 4, 1. All of these are points that are on this graph. If I were to write this as a table, I'd merely just make the negative 3 in the x column and the 1 in the y column. Negative 3, 1. Negative 2, negative 2. 0, negative 1. Again, I'm just listing these here. 2, 2, and 4, 1. Now mapping is new. Mapping is kind of cool. All I do is I take my x values and I rewrite them in this bubble. However, if one of them repeat, I'll only write it once. So I'll rewrite negative 3, negative 2, 0, 2, and 4. The y values are going to go in the y bubble, except again, because the one repeats, we're only going to write it once. 1, negative 2, negative 1, 2. And again, that repeats, so I only write it once. Now, on this graph, the 3 maps to the 1. So 3 maps to the 1. The input is 3, the output is 1. Input is negative 2, the output is negative 2. Input is 0, the output is negative 1. Input is 2, the output is 2. But notice here, if the input is 4, the output is 1. So both the negative 3 and the 4 map to the 1, which is okay. That's fine. Okay, so that's just a little review. Moving on to the heart of today. Today is about domain and range. Okay, so very quickly some vocabulary. Domain is the set of all values that the input can have. Notice I annotated as I went. The set is like all. So all x values in the relationship. Okay. Range, I'm going to highlight this in yellow, is the set of all values in the output of a relation or function. To interpret that again, all y values in the relationship. Okay. Lastly, a function is a relation is a function when each input has only one output. Okay, so we've went over this before. It also passes the vertical line test. That's a review. The vertical line test is really a shortcut. It is a shortcut to tell us that each input has only one output. Okay, we just use that on graphs. So let's go through these and talk about domain and range. That's the purpose of today. Okay, so I'm going to always highlight my domain pink, and I'm always going to highlight my range yellow. Okay, now in the definition it said that the domain is all values of x in the relationship. So if I look at this ordered pair, well, 2 is an x in this relationship, 3 is an x in this relationship, 6 is an x in this relationship, and negative 1 is an x in this relationship. So in other words, the set of all the values in the domain, which is all the x values, is 2, 3, 6, and negative 1. Okay, let me ask a question. Is 5 in the domain? Is 5 in the domain? Well, if I look, 5 is not part of this relationship. So no, it's not a member of this domain. It's not one of the x values in this set. The range is the same ideas except it's just y. So 4 is a number that is in the range of this relationship. 5 is a number in the range of this relationship. I have another 5 and a 3. So the numbers that are in this relationship that are y values are 4, 5, I already stated the 5, and a 3. So these numbers are numbers that are part of this relationship. Okay? Very quickly, is this a function? Yes, it's a function because each input has only one output. So yes, each input has only one output. Okay. Let's do the next one. Again, domain is going to be pink and range is going to be yellow. Okay. The domain is all the x values, and if you remember this first bubble, these are all my x values. So any number that's in this bubble is in the domain. 2, 1, 0, and -1. Any number that's in the second bubble, these are the y values, are part of the range. These are all the numbers that are in the y of the y coordinate of this relationship. 12, 5, 0, and -3. Now, is this a function? The answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because the number 2, if the input is 2, the output is 12. The input is 2, the output is also -3. So this is like saying the number 2 has a birthday on the 12th and the number 2 has a birthday on the -3rd. The number 2 can't have 2 birthdays, so it's not a function. No. Why? Because the input 2 has 2 outputs, which are 12 and -3. Next one. Now this is the hard part. Okay? Domain is still pink. Domain are my x values. Now, this is my x-axis. So what I'm really asking is which x values have a y value, or which input has an output. So for example, if I come all the way over here, is there an x value that has an output here? No. Is there an input value that has an output value here? No. Is there an input that has an output here? Yeah. Is there an input right here? Yeah, it's right here. Is there an input here? Input here has an output. Input here has an output. Input here has an output. In fact, all of these have output values. Down here, bop, 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 all the way until here. Any x value between these two is part of the domain because they have an output. Okay? The way that we write this, so x is less than or equal to, less than or equal to. You always start off with that. And what you're saying is that this is 4 and this is -3. Any x value between -3 and 4 has an output, meaning it's part of the domain. So if x is between two numbers, it's less than 4 and it's greater than -3. Now let's do y. We're going to write y the same way, except instead of an x, we're going to put a y. Okay? Y is yellow. This is my y-axis, or my outputs. And so I'm going to go ahead and check. Is there this y value up here, does it have an x value? No. Does this y value have an x value? No. 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 Here, there is an x value for this y value. There is an x value for this y value. All of this, all the way to here. Any y value between here and here actually has an output. There's no output there, or input there, and there's no input here. Okay? So, it is between 1 and -4. So the y values are between -4 is the smallest number and 1. Now, is this a function? Yes, because it passes the vertical line test. The vertical line test. Okay. Last one, you're going to do the next ones on your own. Here we go. We have this graph. It's in the same way. Okay, domain will be pink, range will be y. So if we look at our domain, this arrow again tells us that it keeps going forever, right? It's going to keep going. So domain is all the x values. There are no x values over here that have an output, right? So these numbers over here are not part of the domain. However, there is an output for this x value. There is an output for this x value. There is an output for this x value, this one, this one, this one, right? All of these have output values. And this arrow keeps going, right? So technically, they're going to continue to have output values. So the domain is all of the numbers, all of the x values, all x values that are less than 3. X values that are less than or equal to 3. And that's it. All x values less than or equal to 3 have an output. Now to the range. Range is yellow, same idea. There's nothing's living up here. There's nothing in the range up here. However, there is something here. And there is something here and here. And this arrow keeps going, so technically this keeps going down. So the range is all the y values that are smaller than 2. Y values less than or equal to 2. Does it pass the vertical line test? Yes. So it's a function. Vertical line test. Sorry, it passes the vertical line test. Okay, we'll do more of this tomorrow.